Is it too much? I work technical support, 11 to 11 on Mondays and 12 to 11 the rest of the week. This has been going on for a year now and it has caused me a great amount of stress and fatigue. I withdrew to my PC and became a bit cold. My wife has been hanging out on Fridays with a single mom and her friends. I would come home late at night with strange people I have never met in my home and my wife so drunk it was embarrassing. Well, one week I had noticed my wife had not been wearing her wedding ring. She was on her way to Applebee's and invited me out and was quite rude about it. She sat with her back to me and made it a point to let me know she had locked cell phone. Now, I'm a very logical person and good at identifying problems. So, when I put the pieces of the puzzle together, I freaked out. The next morning, she had to take her friend to work and get her nails done, then told me she may stop somewhere else but wouldn't say where. That day I packed my things and started to leave when she came home unexpectedly. We had a long heart-to-heart and I agreed to stay and work things out. I promised I would not spend as much time on the PC and she would stop hanging out with the single mom drunk crowd. That night her friend came over and I was already on edge. I asked my wife to ask her friend to leave and she wouldn't do it. Well, I already had it in my head that she was cheating on me. We walked out of the bedroom. She went outside to smoke and I found her friend laying on the couch just texting away. Well, I blew up and stormed outside. Wife ran after me and it turned into this big mess where her mother came over and got involved. During all this my wife had been hanging out with a friend from World on Warcraft on Friday nights. He is 42-year-old, divorced, single, fat, bald, half Asian male who is still in love with his ex-wife who dumped him for her ex-boyfriend. This guy had my wife out till 3 a.m. I got home at 11:30. I got a text at 12:12 saying she would be home soon. 2 a.m. rolls around and she calls me telling me her single mom friend needed children's Tylenol and they had to stop at his place to get it since he has a son. I was ready to pulverize him and I couldn't figure out why since she was doing the damage. Now we are in this tense state for the last 2 months where she keeps telling me she doesn't know what she wants and I tell her I want her. Well, this guy still comes over when I'm not home. I have told her I am not comfortable with it and she doesn't seem to care. She won't take responsibility for her actions and just keeps up with the I don't know answers. She tells me she loves me and we have slept together now several times a week, 5 times in the last 3 days. Monday, I told her she has until April 1st to make her decision. Am I acting rash? I just told Wow Boy through Facebook telling him to stay away from my place. Last night when I got home, I grabbed her phone while she was talking to her Wow buddy and told him to come pick her cheating body up. Then I grabbed her keys, took the key off and shoved her and her crutches out the door. She got injured while horseback riding. She is now sleeping at her mother's apartment. The other guy still hasn't come to rescue her. What is wrong with people out there? No one has any respect for anyone's sacrifices. I work 51 hours a week. I have held down 2 jobs at 65 hours a week. I supported her when she couldn't find a job. I took her to Europe when I joined the army. Sure, I had to go to Iraq, but I survived and came back. Sure, I'm a little different due to PTSD, but I still loved her and cared for her and gave everything she asked for. After 9 years, this is what it comes down to. I must be the world's biggest piece of crap to have this happen to me. This kind of thing should happen to people without morals. People who lie, cheat, and steal. And I must be deserving of it, otherwise how is all of this happening? I now get to join the divorce club. I have to get back out there and date those god's awful bar crap just to try and make a connection. Playing those stupid head games, just to prove you may or may not have an interest in a girl with a 5th reading level who's been around the block more times than a driver's car. The days ahead are dark indeed. Winter is coming. There is no going back. I never return to an ex. Once that line is crossed, they are erased from my history. My first fiancé left me for a dude with a better can than mine. I burned everything, pictures, gifts, cards, etc. This will be no exception. I will never admit to anyone that I have ever been married. I will erase her name and image from my life starting tomorrow. Seri. I am burning our wedding pics first off. I have begun stacking clothing and gifts from her parents, family and friends as they are going in the trash. I smashed my wedding ring flat with a hammer before going to work. The coffee maker I bought her is getting chopped up. The ebook I bought this year from Christmas will be smashed. The PS4 she bought me 2 years ago, I threw out in the street in front of her this morning when she was begging me to let her come back. She has had it easy with me. I have been giving, loving, nurturing, understanding, open, honest, and downright foolish. It's time the tables were turned. I am going to cheat my ass off. I want to be like everyone else. I was to break up marriages, break their children's hearts. I want women to sob like they are bleeding from their eyes. I am so sick of being the nice guy that finishes last. I just made her walk outside and locked her out. As for the WoW and horseback riding, she hasn't played WoW for quite some time. And I took her horseback riding for Valentine's. We used to play WoW together with people from my work. I brought the little prick into our lives, and this is how my faith and trust are repaid. Duck both of them. She was let go from her job yesterday because she missed 24 days of work this year. Now I'm going to strike hard and fast. She missed so many days of work when she got sick for a week due to her doctor not giving her the right antibiotic for a sinus infection, and then her right knee is jacked up and from cheerleading as a teen. Then she had 2 surgeries and now her knee is still swollen from horseback riding. But these are not my issues anymore. I hope she ends up homeless and alone for the rest of her life. People like her need to be punished. As for the guy, well, there is no reason to beat him up really. It really isn't his job to make sure a woman remains faithful or not. The burden is on the one who made the commitment. So, her phone is now shut off. Her clothes are at her mom's. I took the wedding ring I gave her and flattened it with a hammer and threw the diamond into the desert. I also burned our wedding pics. I contacted an attorney on Friday as well. I did leave her the flattened ring for her sentimental values though. Days later, it's 4 a.m. here. I miss her so much, and I love her even more. I feel weak and sad. I just keep asking myself, why am I not enough? Why am I not worth the time and effort? Why do my mistakes bear such dire consequences? Other men can cheat on and ex their wives, be controlling, diabolic, jobless, lazy, weak, unskilled, sloppy, ignorant, obese, smoke, excessively drink alcohol, and rude. Me, I'm a martial artist, an Iraq vet. I have a full-time job, I care, and I'm honest and open. My biggest problem is I'm 5 feet 2, but I can protect myself and others from harm. Sure, I have my faults like anyone else, but I'm really not that bad. It's only when I have been taken advantage of that I go demonic. I can have a very bad temper but not to the point of hurting people. I really do hate myself for failing at yet another relationship. I'm not strong enough, tall enough, rich enough, good looking enough, or just not enough of something I haven't found yet. I guess I need to read more, get fatter, meaner, uglier or something. Perhaps I truly do not belong with the human race. If this wasn't an apt, I would smash every mirror here. I hate looking at myself. I just want to cry like a child and give up. I won't bleed like that though. I have my hatred of her to keep me strong enough to survive. But why does it always have to be this way? Why are they always ready to ditch me the first time a new crap shows up and so eager to try to hurt me as bad as possible? You'd think women just want me get X. We could have been happy together if she just had some backbone, inner strength, faith in us, a sense of right and wrong, foresight, or just some goddamn common sense. I was just hurting. After some sleep I feel better. No, I'm not drinking alcohol, or smoking, or doing any meds of any kind. No doc is going to give me anything to numb the pain. I want it as keen and sharp as possible so I will never forget. So, what if she wants to come back to me? The point, if her WoW friend had stepped up to take up my mantle, she wouldn't want to. My decision is final. If I show a once of weakness now, nothing will ever change and she will never have learned anything. Some people just need to take the hard road. In her case, she going to learn to be a good dog, or she is going to learn to like the stick. So, I let her borrow the car to go to a job interview and she went to his place. GPS tracked. Well, she returned the car to me while crying. She came clean to me and told me what happened. Over the last several months, she said nothing had happened, even though there was a mutual romantic interest. She went to his place to discuss moving in with him as his roommate and he told her no. He also told her the whole thing was some imagined situation in her head and he told her never to contact him again. So, she told me she was sorry she put me through that. She told me she was mad at me for working the long hours and for vanishing into video game land and blatantly ignoring her. She doesn't care what I have done with our wedding pictures or anything else. She wants me and has always wanted me. She was just trying to wake me up and to be the husband she fell in love with. I told her I would think about it and to get the F away from me. She is right about me though. I do work long hours. I did disappear into my PC and video games. I did ignore her. I even said some very nasty things to her over the last year, but that was in response to her lack of interest in going anywhere with me. I wanted her to come gets me, drag me by the hair kicking and screaming and force me to talk to her. And what did she do? Went out drinking and attempted to start up a love affair with someone. She basically took the easy way out and ran away. When the chips were down on my end and I felt her slipping away, I charged in like a mad bull and put her on the spot. This thought process is really pissing me off. Really, I know she is being honest on most levels at this point. But what about later? What if these hours don't change? What if I get lost again? Will she be there or will I go through this again? Life moves in circles. If you want to change, you have to change your circle pattern. Drug addicts never quit doing drugs when they hang with their old friends. They have to find Jesus and hang out with holy rollers. People are usually too weak to change on their own and they need others pushing them along. That's when they learn their lesson. If I take her back, she will go back to the way things were before this whole mess started 7 months ago. The WoW guy was only 2 months ago. I know that I am now completely changed and things will not go back the way they were for me. I will have boundaries. I will enforce them. If I want to do something with her and she doesn't, I will either go myself or drag her along. Realize that I am still in love with her and want her in my life. But I'm not blind nor over the pain. I am a wounded animal and prone to lash out. How does one prove their sincerity to another in a situation like this? I will probably never trust her the same and will be unable to take her back. This is logic. What really counts? Trusting in my heart or gut instincts. I have learned my heart and gut instincts have crap for brains. Fortunately, there are a plethora of 21-year-old females to rebound with. Comment: you're only the backup plan, and the only reason she came back is because the OM didn't want to shack up with her. The fact is, if you stay with her, you will only be the backup until OM2 comes along. Then maybe he'll take her in and leave you holding the bag. She's unrepentant and blames shifting her affair on you. Don't stand for it. She's got some nerve telling you that crap after she went to OM to try to live with him. You are no one's backup plan. Tell that to her face before telling her to get out. Story 2. I have been married to my husband for 5 years, been with him for almost 9, and we have a 7-year-old son together. He is a good man for the most part, works hard, treats me good, never controlling or jealous. We get along and rarely argue. The problem is that he has no interest in spending any time with our son, and that anything to do with our son is my responsibility. Doctor bills, daycare, school fees, activities. He has gone to a few of his baseball games, and maybe one parent-teacher conference. I don't think the people at daycare, school, or his martial arts teacher even realize that my son has a father. He does pay for some of the household bills, but most of them are my responsibility, as well as everything involving our son. We both work full-time and make about the same amount of money. I have tried to talk to him about this, and he will try for a week or two to spend a little more time with our son, but that's it. Am I being unreasonable wanting him to help her with some of our son's expenses? It's gotten to the point where I feel very resentful, and I'm sick of feeling like a single mom when I have a husband. H likes to hoard his money. He has thousands of dollars in his bank account and still tells everybody he's broke. He hates to part with his money for any reason, even to pay bills. When we first got together, I took over paying most of the bills because he would just wait until stuff got shut off, like the phone or electricity, and then finally pay it. We have individual bank accounts, and he is responsible for the mortgage payment and his car payment, both of which I have set up on auto pay because otherwise he wouldn't pay them either. I take care of all the rest of the bills. And yes, he did not want children. We started dating, and 5 months later I ended up pregnant even though I was on the pill. I told him and said that I knew he didn't want a kid and that I would be happy to disappear and he would never have to deal with it. But he said if he was going to have kids, he was glad it was with me and seemed happy about it. I still didn't marry him until our son was 2, because I didn't want either of us to do it for the wrong reasons. He said he was thrilled to have a son, but really hasn't been involved with him much. He doesn't even know where our son is during the day when we are at work, since I take care of all that too. So maybe that's it, but I wasn't exactly ready for a child either, but I took responsibility for it. And if he didn't want to, then he should have left me then and never asked me to marry him. H usually sits and watches TV or plays games on the computer. Once in a while I can get him to come along so we can do stuff as a family. But usually we end up cutting things short because he is complaining about something. So, it's just easier to take my son to do stuff myself. I always thought dads would play baseball with their sons and teach them the game, but in my house, that's all my job too. Now I'm working on teaching him golf, and in a few years, I'll take him hunting. One thing I guess I should have mentioned is that this is a third marriage for both of us. I guess that should have been a sign too that neither one of us was very good at this. I found out from his older grown daughter recently that he had been the same way with her and her sister when they were kids, basically ignoring them. This part I never knew before. I also have a grown daughter from my first marriage, and when she was still at home H couldn't stand her and I couldn't leave them alone ever or they would start fighting. Things got better after she moved out, but I felt bad for her because he expected more from her than his own kids. In response to what I love about him, I love how he accepts me for who I am, how he is a hard-working person, and he is not controlling at all and very easygoing, with a wonderful sense of humor. I don't want to give up on him. I feel that we have both been through a lot and deserve to be happy now, and I wouldn't want to leave him. I also don't want to screw up another relationship. I am obviously not good at this. My first husband was an abusive control freak and the second was an alcoholic. So I guess you can see why current H, despite its flaws, is a dream guy to me, and I don't want to give up. That's why I posted on here hoping for some advice. I'm thinking MC might be the way to go. Maybe we can get to understand each other better. He refuses to share money. Occasionally, if I really need money for gas or groceries or something, he will give me some. But he won't let me have access to his account because his ex-wife refused to work and just spent all his money. According to him, he says that me running out of money all the time is proof that I'm irresponsible with money, and that if we put our money together, I would just spend it all. What he doesn't seem to realize is that I pay most of the bills, and that's why I'm always broke. I wrote it all down on paper once, what he paid for and what I paid for. And he even said, wow, I guess you do pay for more stuff, but that was as far as it went. when he was done paying child support for his daughter. I was hoping he could take maybe one more bill. But he still wouldn't. He's upset because I canceled all the premium movie channels, but I said I don't watch them and I can't afford to pay for them anymore. If you want them, then you can pay. So, he stopped complaining because he doesn't want to pay. And of course, just when I was complaining on here, he actually spent close to 15 minutes with our son playing outside. So, I guess he does spend some time with him and I should stop complaining. And I do occasionally go do things and leave our son with him. And they usually do okay as long as I make sure to tell him everything, like make sure to feed him, and when bedtime is, and whether he needs a shower that night or not. But with our son being 7, he is pretty self-sufficient and doesn't need much care, so it's not so bad. I didn't realize when I first met him that he had been an uninvolved father with his first 2 kids too. He spent a lot of time with his younger daughter at the time, but in retrospect I think it was mostly because he was still mad at her mom for leaving him and he was trying to get her to like him more than her mom. What you said really hit home. I don't want my son to resent me someday. Even though I try to be a mom and dad to him, I know he realizes that his dad doesn't really like doing things with him, and that will eventually cause resentment. He went through a stage last year where he kept saying he hated daddy. And it was because daddy never did anything with him. Abby has tried to do a little better since then, and either it has worked or my son has just accepted it because he doesn't say that anymore. When he does try to do things with our son, it always seems to end up going bad since he is very demanding and my son ends up getting upset. I really want him to have a good relationship with his dad, but I don't know how to make that happen anymore. Honestly, I'm afraid to go through an ugly court process again and take the chamber of losing my son. I went through that with my ex and his scare tactics worked. I don't want to put me or my son through that. If I knew I could win and get child support, I'd do it in a heartbeat because I know he doesn't care. While I already have a good job that pays pretty well, I had to go get a second job as a waitress because I just can't afford everything I have to pay. Part of it is because he doesn't help with money and bills much, especially anything to do with our son. Of course, the second job means I'm gone a lot, especially on weekends, and he doesn't like that much either. If I was single, even if I didn't get child support, I would be farther ahead because I wouldn't have so many bills to pay. His latest thing is forgetting his wallet. He will say we are going out to eat or going grocery shopping, but when we get there, he's forgotten his wallet. Of course, I pay then, but it's getting kind of old. We finally sat down and had a long, honest talk. He admitted that he's not a very good father and wasn't to his other kids either. He said that's the way his father was and it's all he knows. I suggested marriage counseling, and he didn't exactly say no, but he did say he didn't think it would help because he didn't know any other way to be a father and wouldn't be able to learn. He said that although it was the last thing he wanted, it would probably be for the best if I took our son and left him. So, I don't know what to think. At least he understands why I've been upset and resentful, but he doesn't seem to be willing to do anything about it. At least we talked and he admitted he had a problem. So it's a start. My daughter and her husband just had their first baby. I'm a grandma, and I can't help but notice the way my son-in-law is with his baby daughter. He loves holding her and feeding her and misses her if he has to be away from her. Even if it's just me holding her. He changes diapers and is completely in love with her and involved with her life. He says his dad wasn't like that. He drank a lot. So, my H's excuse that his dad was his example and he doesn't know anything else is total BS. I have a first-hand example of a guy who had an uninvolved father and was totally different with his own. I am so happy that my granddaughter has such a good father. And I don't care that the rest of the family doesn't like him because in my opinion he just proved himself in the most important way possible. I at least got to see for the first time in my life what a good dad is like, and my daughter and granddaughter are truly blessed. Weeks later, well, we ended up having a sort of a talk tonight. It all started when he was getting in the shower and asked me to make him a pizza. I followed the cooking directions exactly, as I know that's what he does. When he got out of the shower, he went over to the pizza, sighed loudly, and turned the oven back on. Of course, I came to ask what was wrong, and he said the pizza wasn't done, the cheese was barely melted. I didn't say a word, just started to walk away. He started yelling at me about how I'm always trying to prove that he blames me for everything. I just looked at him like, what the hell? He said he feels that I am distant and looking to leave him and trying to find as many excuses as I can. I tried to explain that I was trying to let go of trying to get him to change, and just work on me and doing what I need to do, basically the 180. To break the cycle of me getting upset. I said I realized I could change him and wasn't going to waste the energy getting mad about it. So I was just concentrating on me and how I could be a better person. We did get a few things straightened out, I guess. I feel like I can never do things up to his standards, and apparently, he feels the same way. He said I should let him know when he does something that upsets me, but then in the next breath he said he feels like he's walking on eggshells, not knowing if he's going to do something wrong again. His statement puzzled me a little. I said that I feel the same way, that I can't live up to his standards. but that I have accepted it and am okay with just being the best I can be and not trying to meet anybody else's expectations. I really felt like I did good. I used I statements and didn't do any blaming. I told him that it hurt that he never wants to hug me or kiss me or hold me, and he said it was because I give off a vibe that says don't touch me. I wasn't aware of that and told him that is one thing I need from him. On the subject of our son, I didn't get very far. He says he is just too old and doesn't have the energy to do stuff with him. I said, why don't you suggest something non-physical then, like a video game or board game? But he says our son refuses to play games with him because they always end up fighting. Which is true. I have no idea why, because I don't have that problem with him. So, I guess we talked and discovered something about how we are feeling, but I'm still not quite sure what. On another note, he said I'm getting to be like his mom. She passed away before we met, so I had to ask him to explain that. He said that after being married to his dad for several years, she just pretty much crawled inside herself and never came out again. Sounds like she emotionally checked out. And since my H is a lot like his dad, I can kind of understand that. But I am stronger than that. I need to be more assertive and just tell my H what I need him to do instead of hoping he will step up on his own. 2 months ago, I owed $50 yet on an old doctor bill for my son and I asked him to pay it. I gave him the bill which had all the information needed so he could make the payment. He agreed to pay it, didn't even protest, so I thought this was good. A month later I get another bill from the doctor for this amount, so I asked him if he had paid it. He assured me that he had taken care of it. Another month later I got another bill. So I asked again. He said again that he had paid, so I asked how he paid it. Cash, check, credit card, etc. He said it was so long ago he didn't remember. So, the next day I called the doctor's office and sure enough it hadn't been paid, so I took care of it right away. I guess even coming right out and clearly stating what I need doesn't work either. I'm trying to decide if it's worth it to put my son through the trauma of divorce just because his dad is not a perfect father. I would love to be single and on my own again. I'm just not sure whether putting my son through a divorce is better than living with an uninvolved and somewhat critical father. Not sure if this is just an excuse on his part or not, but H tells me that I don't give him an opportunity to get involved in some things because I just take over and do it myself. Like the Pinewood Derby car, for example. I did ask him to help with a couple things, but it didn't happen. I did the research and yes, I pretty much took over the project without involving him much. I'm probably wrong in this too, but there was a deadline to get it done, and I know how he is with procrastinating. 6 months later, my marriage almost ended about a month ago, but then I wasn't strong enough and fell for the same old crap. I posted on another thread on here that I had caught him smoking in the garage and reminded him that the last time I'd caught him I told him if it happened again it was over. Unfortunately, I put off the whole discussion because it was a very busy time. My mom was coming to visit for the weekend and then she had a heart attack at my house and I spent the next few days in the hospital with her. I finally had a chance to talk to him almost a week after the incident and told him exactly how I felt. He kept apologizing, said he knew he screwed up and it wouldn't happen again. I didn't exactly trust that because he said the same things before and it's happened again. I told him I didn't know exactly what to do and I needed time to think about it. I got the silent treatment for a couple days. Then he started being extremely affectionate and going out of his way to do nice things for me and our son. Of course, my first thought was that he just wanted to get laid, since with being busy and all the tension it had been over a week at this point. He assured me that he was really trying to do better because he loved me and didn't want to lose me. I told him that I appreciated everything he was doing, and that I was going to give it a couple days to see if it stuck. Since I have seen this pattern before too, it lasted exactly 2 days, then on a Saturday morning he just blew up. He accused me of trying to tell him how to think all the time, pretty much for our whole relationship. He said I was exactly like his ex, and that's why he used to escape from her and smoke a lot. Then he accused me of using bonding as a weapon, said that I had been withholding it for over a week now to punish him even though he had been being really nice. And that sometimes I acted like I was tired and not interested in bonding, and that wasn't fair to him. He went on and on about how badly I have treated him through our whole relationship and how he wasn't happy, and that he was thinking of going out to find a woman who would appreciate him and sleep with him as much as he wanted. I tried to explain that if I was upset about something it would sometimes make me feel not in the mood, and he said there was something wrong with me because most women want a good time all the time and don't care about feelings and emotions. I guess that's how his ex was. He also wanted me to stop seeing my therapist because he said it was driving us farther apart. So, the upshot of all this is that I was really thrown off balance. First he was being nice and telling me he loved me and didn't want to lose me. The next day telling me how horrible I had been treating him for years. I just lost it and cried all morning. He finally came to comfort me and said he could forgive me and we could start over, as long as I didn't continue to treat him badly in those ways anymore. As screwed up in the head as I was at the time, I was grateful that I was getting a second chance and promised to do better. I felt like I had just surrendered and that my only chance to peace and happiness was to give up and try to be the perfect wife he wants. Things went back to normal and calm again after that. Okay, so after a few days of calm I realized that I had been masterfully manipulated and fallen for it again. I did try to discuss some of the things he had said, but of course he didn't remember saying any of it, and I must be imagining things. The peace at home is nice, but the cost to me has been high. On the bright side, my son seems happier with his dad than he has in a long time, so I guess that's a good thing. I just feel stuck, knowing that I was played for a fool. My comment: just leave this marriage, get a better father for the family. It makes take a long time, but anything is better than this. You agree? I am preparing a long series. Stay tuned for